My name is Takanori Yamamoto. I was born in Los Angeles in 1938 in Nisei. And all of my brothers and sisters are Nisei. We were all born in California. I had 8 brothers and sisters, 3 of which have passed away. So we now are down to 5.
Prefabricated barracks spring up. It's in no sense a concentration camp, but a city with its front yard in the snow-peaked Sierra Nevadas. Here, eventually, 12,000 will live and work.
Well, East LA came about after we came back from camp. I was in Poston, as was our family. We were all going with people that we already knew, so we weren't being separated or anything, so it wasn't going to be like a new experience. New experience was that we were now going to be all together equal. Here we were living with people who had money, and we were bottom of the pack. So we didn't see any discrimination even in camp because everybody got paid the same wages. I don't care if you were a millionaire, all you got was $18 a month. So however you could spend your $18 is how it was. It's after we came out of camp. We had no problem moving into Little Tokyo, but there was no place else to go because every place else in Los Angeles was inhabited by people who were coming out of camps. And, we were all went to different camps initially. So when they came back, they had to find ways of resettling because Little Tokyo was too small for everybody. And so they were finding places to live outside of that, places where they might have lived once upon a time, like San Pedro, the fishermen and all, but they couldn't go back there. So we, in turn, found a place in East Los Angeles. My father converted a 4-car garage so he could house his family. So we had that, and it was comfortable. I think when I was at junior high school, I might have had inklings elsewhere, but I think when I came out in junior high school, that's when I noticed that I was not attracted to girls, that I was attracted to boys. That seemed to be what it was for me anyway. And I think one of the problems that when I went to high school, I enjoyed wrestling because you had contact with another male. And it was exciting to me. And I think the person that I was wrestling with also got excited. So it was a mutual kind of a thing. Though I never thought of sex. I just thought of the fact that it felt great holding somebody. And that was kind of like a stimulus for me. And I enjoyed it. Junior high school and high school, I didn't know of any other gay person but myself. So I wouldn't know how they would have interacted or anything. As it turns out, I didn't have any relationships in either junior high school, and or until I went into the service. Because there just wasn't, I don't know about the opportunity. I just didn't have any feelings for that. I didn't think that would have been natural, I guess. I was in the Air Force. And I enjoyed it. I think that the thing that I enjoyed about it was the fact that there was very little restriction on my movement. I found that it was totally liberating because I had the opportunity to do work that I had been trained to do, not what I was going into, but I had already been a secretary, so I knew how to do that kind of stuff. So I could type and stuff like that, which gave me a step above a lot of the other people that were there. Shame on them. Because it gave me the opportunity to find out what's happening and do those kinds of things that I was capable of. And so I enjoyed it. I don't think I had any kind of experience in a relationship at all until I was in the service. And I think one of the things about it was that I don't know if there was an opportunity because I didn't know how to read people well enough to know if there was a possibility. So, it just didn't occur to me. But in the same time, I couldn't jeopardize it by being over solicitous of anybody because if they turned me in, they didn't have don't tell whatever. They just said don't tell. So at the beginning it was interesting, so I just put that all aside for a bit till I was able to feel more comfortable. The idea that there were other things to consider other than the fact that I was Asian, which I thought was a unique thing because it gave me an opportunity to be who I was, and unknown to most of the people in my organization, they had no experience with Asian Americans. So it was good. And I also think, as well as many of us Asians have experienced, I don't know what generation, but from my fact that I'm a Nisei, they always say, "Oh, you speak English so well." And I thought to myself, "What do you expect?" But in the same tone, nobody else understands us, and so that's what I understood for myself anyway, was to slow down so that they could understand me, and therefore not find me too terribly foreign. I developed a friendship with people that I still know from the '60s that are Japanese American, and that's primarily who it was. I didn't seem to have any other Asian friends. They were primarily Japanese American because there was a certain commonality that we had, and so we used that for ourselves, and we were okay with it. As I still have these same friends, so it's going on, over 50 years. For us, we were still segregated by ethnicity. I think even Japanese from Japan were somewhat isolated because we didn't find a commonality. I think we were trying to find something that would make us all the same, but in reality, we had different experiences. And we sort of said, okay, they aren't us like us, and so therefore they obviously are different. Much like all the discrimination we were putting it on them too. In the late 60s, early 70s, our socializing was trying to find places that we could go to. And so we would try to find places like, where would we fit in? So we tried West Hollywood because that seemed to be a place where everybody else was going. So we went there. And I think there was some discrimination because we were new to the community and they didn't see how we fitted in. And they made it a point to tell us that, you guys don't belong here. Where we belong, I don't know where, but we didn't belong there, according to them. And I think that was our problem of saying, okay, we need to come together and be supportive of each other, meaning we need to support ourselves, create an organization of some sort. And so that was the beginning of why we were starting to do this Asian Pacific Lesbian Gay group, because that was what we thought we needed to make ourselves at least vocal. In other words, you couldn't go anyplace if you didn't have some kind of support from an organization. And it seemed that it worked for us because we weren't threatening, but we were at least an organization in numbers. And I think that was an important feature because before then, we didn't have an organization. And so in the same process, didn't have any kind of clout. Carla and I have a, we have a document that says we are domestic partners, which gives us the same rights, but not all of them, as a gay couple. So we're okay. So he can go to the hospital. I can make decisions for his health if he needs it. So that's good. And the reverse is also true. He can make decisions for my health as well. Having a domestic partnership was an important feature. The thing that I wanted them to know was the fact that I wasn't an isolated person. I had a domestic partner, and that I wanted to have people acknowledge the fact that I was not Mr. or Mrs. anything, that this is my other person in my life, and that we want to be acknowledged in however it is that you do it. Carl and I met at a really sleazy part of town, which is Main Street, Los Angeles. People may not know about it, but there were two bars there. It was called Harold's and the Waldorf. And they were sleazy. I think they still are. But we were able to at least hook up. And I think at our third or fourth meeting, we decided to let's see if we can get it together. So I think that was a possibility for us. I can't say that was a possibility for everybody. He was fascinated with the fact that I was Japanese. The problem with that is he wasn't getting a Japanese person. He was getting an Anglo. So I think one of the things about that is we have since worked that out with the Asian Pacific group that we had. There was, but because you see, that's the way it was developed, that it was going to be a attraction. And also the same thing was, in that same process, you needed to find out where you were. I think the fact that Asians who wanted to become Anglo were losing it because they didn't get the idea that the attraction is the person found you attractive because you're Asian, not because you're this Asian and Caucasian face or whatever. They want you to be who you are. And I think that it came about that way. I told them that, yes, I'd like to be a member of your organization, but you also have to know that I'm gay. I don't know why that's always a problem with me, but I always have to confront them right off. So I think it was a year later, they wanted to make me president. And I said, but I'm an out gay person, so I hope that's not going to be a problem for you. They said, oh, no, we'll be fine. So we went on that basis, and I went to conferences. I represented the chapter in different places, and I being the outward gay president of a JCL chapter. One of the things that they said, and some of the people that were there came from very conservative memberships, and they said, you're going to lose people because you're supporting this issue. And they said, well, maybe we ought not to take such a hard stand on supporting it. And I think that was a thing of that we voted on that. And it was not a large margin, but it was enough to say, okay, we support you and we're going to stay behind you, which was good. Because at that point, I didn't know of any organization that was going to support us. We're hoping to find at least somebody acknowledging the fact that we do exist and we do have our rights. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. In that same process, they were at least listening. And I think that's as much as we could ask, especially since this was their first exposure at a national level about supporting gay marriages. So I wasn't uncomfortable. Having a large organization, I think we had as many as 200, 250. And to find that we could get support from that many people was okay. Though when it came down to the process of voting, you saw where they came from. You found, like, for instance, people from, Utah. That's the one I keep coming back with. But places that they are conservative and or a small enrollment of members, that they seem to feel that we ought to protect the family and we ought to protect marriage, but only for men and women. And so I think that was a part where you had your division. Because when it came time to vote, we didn't win overwhelmingly in that support, but at least there was an acknowledgement of the fact that we were at this point and we wanted to say, okay, this is what we want to do and we would like you to support us, but if you don't, we'll be here anyway.